Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to Wait, Are These Guys Friends? Our big return, our second big return, Randy, because I can detail it all. But
Leave them
first
wanting more, baby.
Oh, yeah, by more, I mean anything at all, because we haven't been doing anything. But first, I'll just say, how are you?
I'm doing well. How about you, Mike? Are you recovered? I know it has been a while because of some feeling better things, so I'm glad to see that you're up and running. You seem to have a little more vigor than usual.
I do. So our original hiatus, because we had put out one episode like a month ago from time of recording, is I had been so busy that I could not record. Like, I was like, oh, work's insane. Oh, my gosh. Funny thing about working yourself to death is you approach death. I got so fucking sick. We actually recorded one episode, some of which you will hear in this. We'll get to that. I'm a little nervous about it because I actually haven't listened to it since recording. My big plan to include it has not involved me listening to this episode yet. So it could be like, oh, we fucked this up. But I got a sinus infection, a double ear infection, all off the tail end of that working. And I had like 2 days, and then I went back on the road for 2.5 weeks. I am about to start. We're going to stop this recording briefly. We're going to pause at some point as I get delivered to me my third round of antibiotics. I'm feeling so much better, but there's just stuff that won't, like, again, instead of taking time to rest and take antibiotics, I just took drugs and was like, I got to keep going.
Yeah.
Don't recommend it, sir.
It is wild when your body is eventually just like, nope, shutting this down. Like,
yeah.
If you are going to continue to try and push me on this, I'm going to bring more ailments to the forefront to show you that you need to rest, and it's wild. So I know you were kind of in a situation where you had to plow through it, but I'm glad you're feeling better.
But I'm happy to also get back into the swing of this because I do enjoy doing this. I love doing this. I just first was too busy and then physically could not. So I'd love the idea of me trying to record an episode at the height of how bad I was. Just like, would you see Red Gems?
Hello, everybody.
Yeah.
Welcome to Wait, Are These Guys Friends?
Everybody, welcome to I Want to Fucking Die. Randy, just fucking talk. I don't care anymore. I don't care
Sorry,
anymore.
Mike, I don't have anything to add. Can you please set me up?
Anyway, moving on. Regarding that bit, I said I was going to add it. Here's what we're going to do. We did attempt to record an episode right as I was getting sick, before the height of it. And that episode involved talking about Daredevil, which I've watched all of now, except for the finale, which is coming out this week as time of recording. And actually, no, Daredevil finale's out. I've watched it. Gemstones finale coming out this week at time of recording, which we're both up to date on. But I thought, well, we have some nice insights, thoughts, questions that eventually got answered. Let's play our discussion that was up to half the season at that point. And then we'll come back after that and talk the rest of the stuff and a little bit more. And then we'll get into some more after that. Randy, how does that sound to you?
Delightful.
That's good. I'm really glad you say this, because if you had pulled like a Montreal screw job on me and be like, we talked about it before recording, where you're like, it sounds great. And then we got on air and you're like, I don't like this. I would have had nowhere to go. I'd had nowhere. Ring the bell. Ring the bell. He tapped. As a wrestling reference.
Diplomacy at its finest.
Yes. All right. Anyway, I don't know to transition to this next part. Do you want me to use the DeLorean effect, the TARDIS, or the quantum leap effect to time travel?
Do you have a Wayne's World?
All right, but we got to do it together. All right, well, I'll count it down. All right, I'll count it down.
Okay, oh boy.
Here's Randy, I'm going to tee it up as well. Randy, it's nice that we're going to talk the second half of the season, but I wonder, what would it have been like if we talked the first half of these seasons? 3, 2... There's so much fucking time travel in this episode. This is Mike hours later while editing this hodgepodge of bullshit together. I realized that the episode I was thinking of where we talked about Gemstones and Daredevil was the one we put out a month ago. The one that I straight up said, oh, I didn't listen to it. I was so convinced it was that one. is really just me talking more about Daredevil and like a paragraph, it's a fucking novel, 2 lines of me going, Randy, you want to talk Gemstones? And he's like, maybe when you catch up. And I'm like, okay, bye. Oh, God. Ill-prepared. I was ill-prepared. So, here's that bit anyway. If you want to hear us talk about Gemstones up to like episode 4, go to the last released episode. It's all there. And Daredevil, I think, episodes 1, 2, and 3. And 4, possibly. But then this one's going to talk about 5, then we come back and I'll talk about the rest of the season. And it'll include some of the little fun bonus shit from this other episode. But then come on back, and there's more bullshit. So they dropped 2 episodes of Daredevil since last week, which was surprising, because there's only 8 episodes, and they released 5 and 6 together. And I wonder if they're going to release 7 and 8 this coming week. That said, as time of recording, I only watched 5. Okay. And so it was awesome. I
gotta start burning through that. Yeah.
The crux of the episode, and also it took me a minute because I only watched the Marvels once, and I watched Miss Marvel ages ago. Like, I don't have a lot of recollection of the Marvels, and it took me a moment in the middle of the episode when this other character dropped the name Kamala. Kamala's dad is in this episode a lot. Like, he's a featured character, and it's very good. It's he's an assistant bank manager, and the entire episode is Matt trapped in a bank during a bank robbery, stuck as blind Matt Murdock, and how is he going to get people out of this? And it's really fucking good because it turns into he needs to use all of his abilities. So you get a lot of good Daredevil type stuff without him in the costume. Because it's essentially a bottle episode. Like, almost no one else is in it. It has nothing to do with the larger narrative. And it is maybe my favorite episode of the season because it's just a good fucking time.
Yeah.
And like,
that guy's performance in Miss Marvel, I do remember, it was a bright spot. I do remember that standing out.
And I was enjoying him, and it took me a minute because he did seem like vaguely familiar for some reason. And then it was finally when he actually name dropped his daughter. I was like, oh, for fuck's sake. There it is. But I also appreciate that they are still connecting Daredevil to the larger MCU, but they also didn't hit me over the head with it. Like, saying the name is maybe that moment, but that moment was well into the episode. So, yeah.
But you think of it, too. Like, I mean, Hell's Kitchen. I mean, where does they live in New Jersey, right? Hoboken, I think?
Yes. Actually, no, they live in Hoboken, and there's a whole conversation about Matt's, like, says something. He's like, I prefer Hoboken to Jersey City. And his dad's like, that's the nicest thing anyone's ever said about Hoboken. And I was like, all right.
Good line. No. So, but like, from a geographic standpoint, too, it makes sense. And
it does.
I don't know how much crossover, it wouldn't necessarily mean that Miss Marvel and Daredevil had to have crossover in the comics anyway. It's showcasing that it's all staying in the same place. But also, from a geographic perspective, it makes sense.
It makes sense. And I do like the idea because one of the things that bothered me about the Netflix version of Daredevil, and they kind of got there with Defenders, but what you want from the comics is obviously there's always been the big world-changing events, but New York has always kind of been its own thing in the comics. There's so many heroes in New York that there's like a ecosystem of levels of heroes. And if you can actually start to develop that for the MCU and the TV shows where they all know each other and they all work together, but there is sort of there's a reason Spider-Man wants to be a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, right? And the reason why in the comics he and Daredevil work together constantly because they both hang out around New York more than anything else. So, like, I know we got Charlie Cox in No Way Home, but I need a proper Daredevil Spider-Man team up at this point. And I need it to be against the Kingpin real bad. Yeah. Because I know that Kingpin became a Daredevil villain eventually, and obviously on TV, he is now a Daredevil villain. But you saw it with Spider-Verse movies. He is an excellent Spider-Man villain. The PS4 and 5 Spider-Man games, Wilson Fisk, is a massive part of that backstory. Before the Sinister Six starts developing, the opening level of... Did you ever play the Spider-Man games for PlayStation?
I didn't, but I know of them, yeah.
Breathtaking achievements in video games. But the opening level of the very first game is the raid and arrest of Wilson Fisk. It's the tutorial level, and it
Oh.
immerses you into the world, teaching you how to play the game and also giving you the backstory of this version of the universe that they've set up. And it's just really cool to see like the big, massive fight, and it's the first level while they then branch off into other things. It's good stuff.
I'm piggybacking off something you mentioned. I didn't watch the Defenders because of Iron Fist, and because Iron Fist was so bad, I didn't
Yes,
even want
it
to give it a
was.
chance. Which sucked because I really like Daredevil and I like Jessica Jones too, and so
I liked
was
Luke Cage a
willing to.
lot the first season.
That's true.
Anyway.
Yeah,
I liked
like
Luke
that
Cage a
too.
lot. They were
And then
3
I
for
started
4.
to go into it, and an Iron Fist just turned me off so much I never even gave the Defenders a chance. Was it any good, or was it because I liked the idea? But
First off, I think you can watch it, even though there's a lot of Iron Fisty stuff in there.
Mhm.
I think personally you can watch Defenders and enjoy it without Iron Fist. They do
Okay.
enough to get you there. It's fine, and it does sort of. It's not absolutely necessary, but it does help you if you've seen it going into the 3rd season of Daredevil, which does sort of have to deal with some of the ramifications of the Defenders.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
like you're not, but on the flip side of that, they do enough to catch you up in Daredevil season 3, and also a cursory Wikipedia read would probably give you everything you need to head into the 3rd
Gotcha.
season if you really
Which
didn't
is
want to watch the Defenders.
Usually with most things Marvel, I have a few of those just to make sure, because there's certain things I'm like, well, what are they referencing here? I just want to see what's going on with that.
Yeah. And then the important thing to remember for Iron Fist, I got to look up this guy because he is sort of the definition of failing up for a very long time. I have a handful of showrunners and TV people where I look at you and I just think, how do you keep getting work? And this guy's name is Scott Buck. And I'd like you to note that he did Iron Fist, then got hired to do a second Marvel show. And that Marvel show was Inhumans. So the 2 worst rated, worst reviewed, most reviled Marvel properties ever made in the current MCU era were both showrun by the same guy. They saw Iron Fist and thought, yeah, no, we're in on this guy. Let's give him another show.
I mean, the Nick Fury one was pretty bad too, but
Right. That's true. Secret Invasion was bad. Maybe I say the modern era of the golden age of the MCU, because both of those came out while the MCU was fucking cooking, right?
Gotcha. Yes, fair.
So like they were like, no, let's give it another crack. We know we got the most important, amazing money-making franchise of all time right now, but let's give this guy another crack. Oh, whoopsie doodles.
Was Inhumans a spin-off of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., or was it?
Oh my God, my man. This could get me started and curtail me. Yes and no.
Okay.
So Inhumans,
because I liked Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and gave it like, I think, a season and a half chance, and then started to check out.
So here's the thing about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. that I also will fall on the sword on here. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. had a really bad first half of a season. Then the last 4 episodes were fucking amazing when Winter Soldier came out.
Mm-hmm.
Then they had to kind of cool their heels because they spent seasons 2 and 3 still trying to tie into the MCU, right? And it really curtailed them. Around season 4, I think of 7, they just went, fuck this. We will do whatever we want. And the last 3 or 4 seasons of that show are bonkers fun. But the problem is people had stopped watching by that point. Right. And the thing too is you have to get through a not bad, but B level show to get to a B plus A minus level show. And
did they make it more kind of episode of the week as opposed
to
trying to make it serial? Oh, okay.
No, they leaned into serial, but their own serial without having to tie into somebody else's narrative.
Gotcha.
The life model decoy arc, the stuff they were taking, like, it's good shit, man. It's but it's like I talk about with DC's Legends of Tomorrow. That first season of Legends of Tomorrow is among the worst TV ever made. But seasons 2 through 7 are among my favorite superhero media ever made. Especially like seasons 3 and 4 of Legends of Tomorrow is just breathtakingly goofy. If you want fun, goofy, like classic comic book shit, the middle seasons of Legends of Tomorrow was breathtakingly good.
Interesting.
But the problem is the first season is among the worst TV ever made.
It kind of makes me think of, so remind me, when you tapped out on Stranger Things, you don't like kids too. That's the other thing. I forgot about that.
Like season 2. It was like
okay.
partway 2
so
when it's tapped out.
It's interesting because that follows a similar arc, is that season 3 is really good. Season 4 is really good, but 2 is a really kind of tapering off after, and kind of a retread of season 1. And so it's interesting to see like that kind of, it follows a similar path to say
maybe
that
I should give it a
just kind of worked.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, there's not much from season 2 that you need to know starting season 3, so you could probably skip and start at season 3. So, because it gets really, to say Carpenter-esque is probably giving it too much, but it has a lot of elements to it that are a lot of fun. So, anyway.
But modern John Carpenter, where he just wants to get high and play video games
and just score it? No.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Not that John Carpenter. Understood.
No. Very, very 80s John Carpenter.
There was a new episode of Gemstones last night, right? I haven't watched it at time of recording. So there is a 4th episode out, but I realize now I haven't had time to watch it because we're recording.
Gotcha.
So did you watch it?
I watched it last night. I won't give anything away. There's nothing really narrative that, I mean, some things sort of, without, but nothing over the top.
Can you give me a review as if you liked it? Did you like the episode?
I'll wait for you to watch it so we could discuss it. I think maybe next time, because I think that's a better way to do it. Just because I'd be curious to see what you think.
My gut reaction. I just want to know: did you enjoy the episode or did you not enjoy the episode?
It felt fillerish to me. So
interesting. Okay, that's what I wanted to know going in.
However, there were still at least 4 times that Baby Billy's lines made me laugh.
I mean, always.
It's just the delivery. I don't know what.
Wow. I mean, but we'll never know. That was just us imagining what would have happened. Ignore whatever I had said at the start. That was just us imagining if we'd talked about the earlier episodes. Crazy. So, I believe that was through episode 4 of Gemstones, and I had gotten through episode 5 of Daredevil, and we have some other stuff we could talk about, but how
many Daredevil total, by the way?
9 total, which is such an odd number, isn't it? Aside from being an odd number, it's a very odd number for the season. So
that's it. Yeah, any of those, well, this is Disney Plus, right? But I feel like any of those Disney Plus ones always seem to have strange numbers to it. It was usually 8, but like.
Yep. And I do wonder if maybe that's because of the reshoots that have been publicized. Did they added material to the earlier part of the season? Did that necessitate pushing it to a 9th episode to, accommodate all of this stuff? So you are eventually going to watch the show with your wife. So I'm going to attempt to hit some spoiler-free stuff, but I just really want to talk about it now while it's fresh for me.
Sure.
So, I know we talked about, I think we talked about this. No, we didn't talk about this. I remember what I had said.
Let's talk about it now.
It's a spoiler. It's a pretty big spoiler. Okay, so I remembered this bit. I remembered this bit, and you'll have just heard it in the cutaway here. My favorite thing. What's the guy who plays Foggy Nelson? What's the actor's name? From the Mighty Ducks.
Fulton Reed. I don't know his actual name. No, that's the character's name.
No, that's the character in Mighty Ducks. Fuck you. What's his name?
I don't know his name. That's why I just know. You did
then.
Fulton.
I remember because you brought it up in the thing we just played.
I must have researched it at that point.
Eldon Henson.
Wow. Are you sure I brought it up?
I'm positive. Unless you called him Fulton Reed and I went with it.
I think I probably did.
Fucking hell. Okay. Hello, it's Future Mike again. I'm sorry to keep popping in like this. It's just, again, what a hodgepodge nightmare I've created for myself. I went back to that episode that was our last release where we talked about Daredevil to see what Randy had done. And let's go to the instant replay. I'll watch with you. Or listen. I don't want to devalue the audio, people. Here we go.
Then I'm going to be like, that's Fulton Reed. for Foggy. I do it every time.
I-
And he's really good in it, but
No,
it's
he's
so
so
funny where I'm
good.
like, oh my God, this is Fulton Reed.
I'm going to
from
tell you right
Mighty
now, I will
Ducks.
absolutely promise you he is so good at this season that by episode 3, you will not be saying full.
And it's not even like a conscious thing where I just go, oh, like I am reminded for some reason. Like I get, which is a credit to him because he's pulling me into that other character, and then I'm just briefly reminded.
You're not seeing Deborah Ann Wool from True Blood and Karen, the monster? He fucking said Fulton Reed. Anyway, this should be the last time I have to break in. Let's go back to the rest of the episode and stay with it. So, the best part about what you had said in that I was sitting on, and I don't know what you've heard, I don't know what slipped out, but this is, for anyone that hasn't watched Daredevil Born Again, there's time codes in our episode as always.
Yep.
If you do not want to hear the spoiler I'm about to say, please skip down. Randy, this is your final warning, are you sure?
Go for it.
So, he's murdered in the first episode of this season.
Oh, shit.
In the first 5 minutes.
Oof.
So that was one of the reshoots. He was not brought in for the season originally. They were reviewing the show. They were audience testing. He was always dead in the show, but it happened off screen originally. And audiences were like, what the fuck is this? So, but my point being is what I was so ready for is in the last thing, one of the few things I remember from that recording is you going, listen, I really like Eldon Henson, but I don't know if I can spend like an entire season looking at him as Foggy Nelson.
Guess what? I don't have to.
Yeah, and I was like, don't worry, Randy, you'll get past it.
They took my notes.
Yeah.
Well done, Marvel. Thank you.
Yep, I was just so ready to bring that up, to be like, don't you worry, Slugger. It's not going to be a problem. But that said, the season is absolutely astounding. I still have Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin is absolutely stellar. I still think that when he was in Echo, it was before they knew Daredevil was coming back. So he's very different in Echo. And they do have to do some dancing to explain his characterization and appearance in that show. Because, like, you can tell they weren't planning on that. There's throwaway lines of just like, well, I was going through something. Anyway, Vanessa. And I was like, oh, all right. Cool. But it's handled beautifully. The Punisher in this show. At the last episode that we had talked about, or I had talked about then, was he had just shown up and they were talking about how there are all these cops that had taken on his logo and how is he going to react to that. Oh my God. The finale is Frank Castle cut loose, unleashed, and him going, do not emulate me. I am not a role model. I will show you why I'm not a role model, and here's why I'm not a role model, you fucks. It's great. Listen, the mystery of what happened to Foggy, because again, it happens in the first 5 minutes. That's a big spoiler, but I'm not telling you why. Okay. You know, it is a season-long plot line to be like, why the fuck did Foggy get murdered? And that's a lot that drives the show. And so while it is a shocking moment, please know there is a lot of plot and mystery I'm not telling you. That is worth it.
If anything, it's an intrigue because, you know, if I had just happened to have started to watch it on a whim, I would have found that out. And then, like, you know, if I'd fallen asleep or clicked off it, I'd be like, oh, well, I know this beginning part. You're not telling me something happened in episode 6, you know?
Right. And I do, so I go back and forth on spoiler culture for a slight deviation. I am actually often pro-spoiler because I find things, now there's something to be said for the shock moment that can be in a show. That old Game of Thrones, like, oh my God, they're dead, holy crap. On the flip side, I get such anticipation and hype. If I know something's happening, I'm just like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, here we go, here we go, here we go. It can inform my excitement in the show in a different way. It does not necessarily ruin my hype for a show because you're watching and you're like, oh, fuck.
Sure.
I was going to say, am I off base on that? Am I a crazy person?
No, I think I'm in the same boat with that.
Okay, cool. But that is highly recommended, Daredevil Born Again. Season 2 already in production, which thank God I knew that, or I Googled that after, because it does not end in a way that's like, well, we're not coming back. It ends in a way it's like, they better be fucking coming back. And yes, season 2 already in production.
We got some shit to take care of.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
exactly.
there's a couple other shows that I've been talking about in past episodes that I think are similarly done, where like season 1 was done, it's like, whoa, whoa, whoa.
Yeah.
We're just at a midpoint. We're not at you didn't put a, it doesn't feel
Is
like
it
a finale of a season. Like it just felt like you stopped. I was like, you better come back for more. So
is it that rich kid CW show with the Asian man from Lost? Because you always talked about that one. Is that one of them? What the hell was the name of that show? I made fun of you for it regularly because I didn't care.
The rich kid CW.
Rich kid, not CW. But
no, Industry.
Yeah, was that one of them? Is that one of the shows you're talking about?
No, that actually had its like arc done. Like
okay.
That show actually was pretty good about having arcs.
Okay.
Within their seasons. No, I Common Side Effects, the animation show you didn't like, was like that, and then and then Paradise, which is a Hulu show, did a similar thing. So, but anyway, where it just kind of ended, and you're like, but there's a lot of stuff left to try and figure out. But they're like, that's the hook.
So we have a lot to talk about Gemstones wise, I'm sure, before they get to the finale. 1 episode left and series finale.
Yeah.
But because we're still in that Marvel vein, I know you've seen it and you saw it in the theaters. I finally 2 nights ago watched Captain America: Brave New World. So did you like it? What did you think of it? Thoughts on the movie, but also MCU as a whole and how it ties in? What do you got?
I don't want to cut it down at all. I thought it was harmless fun, if I could put it that way. I enjoyed it. It was not walking out, I wasn't blown away, wowed, amazed, but I had a good time. I also didn't walk out going, another one in a string of they need to like really up their game. I thought perfectly fine, acceptable, and enjoyable time at the movies that didn't push a ton forward. I mean, this is not a unique take. I wish they hadn't given away the Red Hulk. Like, I wish
the first thing I was going to say. How great would that have been if they had not given that away?
And especially because it's so late in the movie that it's coming, and you're like, when is it coming? Like, oh, and now we still have this, and it feels sort of throwaway at the end, really. That like last little bit, like it could have been so much more fun if I don't know. But from a storytelling standpoint, obviously that has to be the end to like, because you can't like have him turn into the Red Hulk and then change that quickly. Or otherwise he's going to destroy a whole bunch of shit for 45 minutes, and that could be really tough to maneuver. So I don't know how I guess I should have seen the Winter Soldier cameo coming, but when he came in, it was still fun. So I think I remember everyone kind of like, like it was kind of just a nice reaction to him, because I think that Marvel series was sort of unfairly panned. I kind of enjoyed it. I liked
Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I thought that was a good series. I have no issues with that show.
Critics were, maybe it was because it was in the midst of when everything was super blockbuster, and everything was killing it, like we're at the end of the Avengers run, right? So
I think it was unfairly maligned because it came after WandaVision, and everyone was in on WandaVision. Everyone was like, this show's brilliant. And then, in hindsight, I think it's looked down on because it got sandwiched between WandaVision and the first series of Loki. And so it looks weaker because those, as much as we all malign Marvel TV at this point and the oversaturation, that first year of shows was pretty fucking good.
Yep.
If you're watching a video, where'd my camera go? I was doing nothing, and that shit was it tracking my hand because I was doing hand motions? If you're on the YouTube version, my camera just went somewhere. And I'm going to go slowly bring it back. And if you're on audio, you're like, get back to the takes. Get back to the takes.
You were trying to say that Marvel was going awry, and your camera went awry. I don't know. So, but you and I are on the same page there. I enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. And it was like a buddy cop-ish kind of within Marvel, which was kind of cool with people that have a lot of good banter with each other. Really, I think that's the thing. They work well together, but they trade barbs and stuff like that. It's really fun.
I think it would have been weird if he had to at least be a cameo for this to all go down and Winter Soldier to not show up, A, in a Captain America movie, B, the one with Falcon after literally that show. How would he not? Although, what a apparent glow up career wise, going from brainwashed assassin to he's running for Congress.
Yeah.
So that's which at time of recording, Thunderbolts comes out tomorrow. So
Nice.
I really would like to go see that one in the theater. I haven't seen a Marvel movie in the theater. Oh, I guess I saw Deadpool and Wolverine. So that was what,
Yep.
June and July 2024. I skipped Captain America. Sorry. But I'm really intrigued
It
by
was fun in the
Thunderbolts.
theater. I'll give it that. Like
Yeah.
there was good action points. Yeah, no, Thunderbolts I think is um has an opportunity for Guardians of the Galaxy momentum, in my opinion. Like
Yes.
I think as long as it needs to deliver the goods with the people in it. I trust a lot of those actors, so
I am
I think it's going to be fun.
I'm fascinated because aside from them doing the Sentry, which is a big Marvel continuity thing, and I wonder if they do the Sentry like they do the Sentry in the comics, which would be fucking bold.
Mm-hmm.
But it's all, aside from Bucky, it's all people who've been in the TV shows. Well, Yelena was in the Black Widow movie, but she was in the
Yep.
Hawkeye show and a couple other things. Ghost was in Ant-Man and the Wasp. Listen, let's be real. It's mostly the TV people and the B tier, which I
Right.
think is the kind of the
Well,
point.
that's the thing, right?
Yeah.
Nobody with actual superpowers, right? Like it's all enhanced or just brilliant
Ghost has
like hand-to-hand
superpowers.
combat and stuff. Oh, right. Okay.
And Sentry is basically Superman. That's the whole point.
Oh, okay.
Do you know the
So when
Sentry's comic book origins?
yeah, you told me about that. Yeah, but I thought she said, was that, am I making that up? That I thought Florence Pugh's character at one was just like, well, none of us have superpower, man.
Well, maybe she must show up later because wait,
Maybe she's just talking about some of them. I don't know. But
must be a scene at least because yeah, Ghost can phase through objects. She's basically Kitty
okay.
Pryde, and
Yeah.
I
So
love
that's
Kitty Pryde. Somebody said in the X-Men episode once, like, you said Kitty Pryde too much. You're like, never enough, never. Anyway, take that. For people who don't know, and because it was ages ago probably that I talked about it, if it was even on air, the Sentry's comic book origin is basically he was there from the beginning. He was a founding member of the Avengers. He helped save the world. He was in all the big crises, everything that happened that you ever remember in Marvel. The problem is, to save the universe one final time, he had to go into some void that basically erased him from time and space. And when he finally got out of it, no one remembered him. And they all had memories of doing this shit without him. So he was like basically Superman. He looked like he has the cape, he's muscly, he for all intents and purposes was Superman, but also everyone's like, who the fuck is this guy? So he also has a dark side, which will probably come into the movie. However, it would be bold if they do he was there the whole time, you all just forgot. If they do like a 5-minute montage of cutting him into scenes that we all famously remember, like the scene in the Avengers where the camera swirls around the 6 of them. I would love the idea that they insert him in the center. Like, yeah, I was here too. Let's fucking go. You don't remember? I was here. It was great.
weird camera angle. I just couldn't see this. So
Anyway, I think that covers all the Marvel.
Cool. No, I'm looking forward to that one too. I think that since I saw the initial previews, whenever the first trailers that came out, that was one that very much intrigued me. Not knowing the comics or much of the origins beyond just what the characters have been shown so far, I think that's a fun. When you put a bunch of people together and just try to have them fight a common good, even though their morals, I mean, by and large, in their checkered past have been here or there.
And, I'm not sure how they're going to call them Thunderbolts in this, or I'm under the impression this is more of a Marvel Suicide Squad as far as the movie origin goes. The comics origin of the Thunderbolts came about in 97. There was a big event called Heroes Reborn, where the real world reason is all the creators who had left Marvel in the mid-90s to go form Image Comics, like 4/5 of them came back to Marvel for a big event. And what they did is they killed off Pocket Universe all of the big heroes, Captain America, the Avengers, all that shit. And they gave them, for I think it was a year, creative control of all these characters. And they're like, in a year, we're going to bring them back. Everybody knew they were coming back. But for 1 year, they're out of the regular Marvel universe and you can do whatever you want with them. I will say overall it was a creative failure. And most people are like, what the fuck was this? Can we go back to normal, please? However, the Thunderbolts came about with Baron Zemo, in the absence of Captain America, going, we got a fucking opportunity here. So he grabbed a whole bunch of supervillains, gave them new costumes, and they pretended to be a debuting superhero team.
Oh.
And so for a long time, the Thunderbolts were led by Citizen V, but it was really Baron Zemo. And they were trying to fuck things up behind the scenes while in the public being this new group of heroes.
Gotcha.
I do not think literally any of that will happen in the movie.
Right.
Not one fucking lick, which is a shame. They basically just stole the name to make the Thunderbolts movie. Anyway.
And who's in the comics then? Is Bucky the leader? Is there a de facto team leader?
Citizen V, Baron Zemo, because they're all villains.
Gotcha.
Bucky.
But does he do combat? I mean,
yeah, they all do. They're all just wearing costumes. But I also don't remember if Baron Zemo has some kind of superpower in the comics. I can't recall.
Gotcha.
The big turn and arc in the comics was that after the Avengers come back, all of the Thunderbolts are like, fuck, they're going to figure this out. And I don't remember if it was happenstance or they do it to try to just, put off the investigation. Hawkeye joins the Thunderbolts, but just regular Hawkeye. So
is he infiltrating or
no? He just thinks he joined a new superhero team.
Okay.
So there's this whole thing of fucking hell, Hawkeye's around all the time now, and they're trying to. I don't remember the arc entirely, but it was a big thing in the '90s and early 2000s. So yeah. Anyway, literally none of that's going to happen in this movie, which is a shame because those are some fun plot beats. So, could you imagine we're all fake superhero movies, but Hawkeye's like, "Hey guys, I'm going to help out." And they're like, "You don't need to.
Great.
We're good. No, come on, I'm Hawkeye. Cool. Let's go, I guess."
I stand for all that is right and good in this world. Don't you want that?
I got arrows, motherfucker.
Yes, of course we do.
Yeah, I think that'd be a fun movie. But again, literally none of that will happen. Shall we move on to the Righteous Gemstones?
Let's please, yes.
So one of the things I mentioned in the pre-recorded bit that I want to go to immediately, and again, we're talking spoilers for everything but the finale. So look at the time codes. If you don't want to hear Gemstone spoilers, skip down to the next thing. With everything we've learned in the show, where the Glory, Megan Mullally's ex-husband, played by Michael Rooker, I forget his character's name, but he's clearly evil. He's as properly evil a villain as this show has ever had. There is no shade of gray there. What? My camera did the thing again. What the fuck is going on? I thought I locked it. I'm trying to have a serious discussion here. You fuck. Why can't I have a serious... It's the hand movements. I start going nuts on the hand movements. I hate everything and everyone, especially you. I'm so angry. All right, back to it.
That's not different than any other day, so...
Oh. Here's my question.
Cobb, by the way. It came to me. Cobb. It just came to me. So,
with everything that we've seen in the show, where there's still a finale, he is so evil. Miss Laurie has turned out to be misunderstood. They were great friends. We saw in the flashback, the Gemstones helped her escape her marriage. All these amazing things where it turns out we've completely misunderstood Miss Laurie.
Mm-hmm.
What's up with the scene where she puts on Amy Lee's glasses and stares creepily into the mirror?
I think she constantly is living in I was at my happiest when that time was going on. I wish she was here. This is a way to connect with her. I mean, in the moment, I think it was presented to be interpretive, right? Is she taking it over? But I think, given what we've seen, that's just kind of what it was. Is there a way I can revisit her, try and see her again or something? I don't know.
I could buy that. I feel like, listen, if they're leaving it up to interpretation, they're leaving it up to interpretation. But I feel like they're so leaving that up to interpretation that I hate the idea of them filming a scene, presenting a scene as a blatant misdirect that does not get resolved later. I don't like them doing the idea of something just for drama and confusion, because this show doesn't normally do that type of thing. They clear it up, they clean it up, they clarify, and it makes it all the better. So I'm surprised.
I would also buy into the fact that at that time, Cobb wasn't really in the mix. He was, but he hadn't blown up Eli's car. We think that is Eli, that he did that. Um, and what happened over the next 3 episodes hadn't come to a forefront yet. Everything just seems hunky dory. The only thing that Miss Laurie really has to deal with are the kids, and she's known them forever and knows kind of how she can sort of manipulate that to what she wants. So she's in a happier, less threatened space at that point. And so maybe she could be thinking a little more vindictively at that point because she could get away with it without any real consequence. And it makes everything kind of happy. But as things ratchet up and then all of a sudden it's like, oh shit, Cobb is a psycho and is probably going to blow up and kill everybody. And we need to get out in front of this. And I mean, that goes back to, I think if I didn't mention it in what just happened, the commentary that we threw to earlier, I think this show is at its best when everybody is together against a common villain, and I think that's where Cobb comes in perfectly. And Michael Rooker is a perfect casting choice here because that show is better when they're all working together, and I think that's what we've seen over the last couple episodes.
You're right about the villain because I think about season 2 with Eric Andre, and I really love season 2. And then I think about season 3, which I know I enjoyed, but who was or was there a proper villain in season 3, or was it more of an emotional arc?
Was it the other pastor group? Kinda,
but they were so in and out that I thought that was more of a narrative beat than a proper villain. I don't feel like there was a full-on villain in 3, and I could be misremembering. But
3 was when we discovered Eli's past?
Yeah. That was one of the misdirects. It was Eric Roberts. Yeah. Sort of, but then it wasn't really Eric Roberts. There was sort of so that's probably why. It wasn't necessarily a villain.
Not an overall villain, but like past coming to whatever, chickens coming to roost, whatever that cliche is.
Here's my question. There have been a lot of longing looks, and it also feels like really big casting for what's been a tiny role. Is there going to be some kind of twist with Seann William Scott in the finale? Or is he red herring casting also? Let's get a big name as the son. People start thinking through things.
I thought that, but it's like they already kind of did it, right? Like he turned already, right? Like he made the second turn, and he came because he realized that there was more. While he saw the value in kind of bringing his family back together, he saw what his father was and saw that he cared more about the Gemstones, I think, than his father. And I think that was a setup from his birthday at the beginning, right? Where his dad just basically came in and what an asshole, like and gave him a knife that he was like, that's fine craftsmanship. And clearly Seann William Scott's character had no interest in that. But it becomes the thing that becomes the undoing later. I couldn't remember that when Eli rang the bell for the big gator to come, he had gone and watched one of the shows earlier, right? Like in an earlier episode.
Yeah, Eli when he went to go talk to Cobb.
Initially, I had forgotten that part, and when I saw him do that, I was like, how did he know to do that? But if he watched the show, that makes it perfect.
It was before he cut his hair, and he wanted to go talk to, it was like, when's the last time you talked to Laurie, and blah, blah, blah. Like, gotcha. He was like, I thought I could talk to him.
He sat in the audience for the little show first.
Yep.
Yeah, okay,
cool. Yep. But, or am I misremembering that it doesn't really matter. It could have been 20 years ago. I think that was in the flashback, but it was still at the Gator Park, so he probably just remembered. Either way, He saw a show at the Gator Park. Although if he remembers that after like 20 years, great memory, Eli. Very good job. So.
A nice little sequence there, and of course, you even texted me about it, so is when Baby Billy's trying to run at Cobb yelling cocaine. I mean, just it's...
By the way, a few weeks ago, we talked about the Flanderization of Baby Billy. And is it really that he got addicted to cocaine? That's the character moment. That's the beat.
I mean,
every weird thing that I was like, seems out of character. Not out of character, but he's been turned up to 11.
Like
he's
Eli gave into him.
Yeah.
Eli gave him his $2 million in his 8 ball. So he's knocking it out.
All I'm looking for is $2 million and an 8 ball. This family used to help each other. Oh, y'all look out for yourselves.
It's wild. He's such a God. Oh my God. I have been still continuing to rewatch Justified, and I'm into the third season on that, and we're back to kind of where Timothy Olyphant's character and Walton Goggins' character are sort of working together against the common enemy, and it's just funny to watch. Like as I'm watching that, and then I stop and I go watch Righteous Gemstones. You just see this complete, you know, I don't. He's up to 150, as Baby Billy, and it's a much different, but it's so much fun to watch. But he's such a talented performer. I think coming up on SNL, right? Like, if it's
Yeah,
not,
I'm very excited. He's
I think
hosting
in
soon. Just the Walton
2 weeks, yeah.
Goggins. It's
Oh, he's
fantastic.
everywhere. So
You know
White
what?
Lotus, everything else too.
There's a show I never even talked about because it was good, but it wasn't like, oh, we got to discuss it. It was just, I don't know where we were recording, but it's a show from 2022, and it's called The Last Days of Ptolemy Gray. It's on Apple, starring Samuel L. Jackson. And I'm watching it, not knowing fucking, all of a sudden, Walton Goggins shows up. He's in it for 5 episodes. He's like the main catalyst that makes the plot happen. And then
Oh,
he
wow.
pops in and out. And I'm just like, what the fuck? He's everywhere. I did not turn this on expecting Walton Goggins. There he is.
This feels like the old SNL writers in like the early 90s where they didn't know what to do and they just wrote insert Farley or Farley enters. And now it's just like, we're not sure what to do with our show. Walton Goggins. Got it.
I was going to make it sound way worse. I thought I was going to be like, oh, it's the fucking making copies guy again. Time to move on. But he's better than the making copies guy.
Yes. Very much so.
But
You got any, just thinking Gemstones, you got any predictions or ideas for the finale you think that might happen?
Yeah, so honestly, what I'm hoping is I actually don't want a twist. What I want is this is the series finale, right? Yeah. I want this to be the epilogue where all the plots are wrapped up and we just get to spend time with the characters one last time. Yep. I want an hour of just being with these people without the drive of a plot. I want to hang out with them for an hour. I just want jokes and character beats. I want one long Sunday lunch scene for just like interactions and hanging out and being together. And there will probably be more plot than that, but that's really what I would like. I just want time with the characters.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. I have a couple thoughts that it's more like hopes than anything else. So I think we're going to find out that Judy is pregnant, which would be a nice, because BJ's been looking for that. There was so much of that projection from his talking about Dr. Watson that it was clear that's why he was with Judy, right? Like that believes in me, all that other stuff. I think that Pontius and Gideon are going to become like a pastoral team. That would be fun. And then I'm not sure what else. Like that I think maybe that Miss Laurie and Judy will do like a duet, and that'll be another kind of. I think she's going to become the matriarch of the Gemstone family. So, but that's what I think. That's 3 things. So I have to see what else. The Gold Bible eventually is going to have to come back into it. I don't know how they're going to tie that up unless it was just in Cobb's things.
Yeah, that's the thing is it was just in Cobb's things, but to your point, why did we dedicate, as much as I loved that episode, why did we dedicate the entire premiere to that origin and the Bible and everything? There's got to be a narrative reason, right? But who knows?
And then, I mean, it's Baby Billy's playing Jesus. I mean, are we going that deep on symbolism? Is he dying for our sins at the very end of this? Like, or his sins? I don't know.
I got to be real. I got a work text and I looked down where you said, which character did you say just now is dying for our sins?
I said, is Baby Billy as taking on the complete Jesus parable, or I don't know.
Well, listen, this 150-year-old man is Teen Jesus, so that's fair. It's called acting, dummy. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. But I believe that's all we have for new stuff. Our next pre-taped bit is honestly, it's one I've been keeping in the can because I've been like, some point we're going to need a fill-in episode. The time has arrived. It's a fun episode, but it's also evergreen, right? We found this random date generator and we looked at all the big stuff that was on TV. It's kind of a harken back to a bit we haven't done in a while that I love when we look at a TV schedule or lineup. And the fun thing about this is we had taped a bit of us looking up the dates one week, stopped down for research, then taped the bits for the next week. And then, so like this episode now has got like 4 different recording dates over the course of like 3 months, all hodgepodge together just to get us back on track. Also, I can't do the Quantum Leap bit. I did the Quantum Leap bit to get from us rolling the dates to the other thing. So do you want
DeLorean it is.
I was going to say, do you want Doctor Who or Back to the Future? But you want Back to the Future. I'll come up with something.
Since it's from earlier, that makes sense.
I'm going to strike you with lightning and rev you up to 88 miles an hour. Don't worry about when it's going to happen. Just sit there comfortably, and at some point in the next 30 to 45 seconds, you are going to get fried. Don't react. This isn't a bit, Randy. This is real life.
Stand back, everybody. You're going to see some serious shit.
Oh, Randy. We're going to follow the rules of Quantum Leap, and we're going to jump to a date within our own lifetimes.
All right.
So we will travel from either the day of your birth until, let's just say, December 31st of last year. These first couple of weeks aren't anything. Here's the awkward thing. I know you were born in 1980. I forgot what your birthday is.
August 28th.
Fantastic. We are going to generate 2 different dates. We'll do one at a time. And it is, I believe, like something like 11,300 something dates. And it's going to give us one date. And we are going to have to look at all the TV schedules for that day for every network.
All right.
And now if it's like 1982 and there's 3 networks, we're great. But if suddenly we got the CW and Fox and some cable involved, we got a problem. Boy. Yeah. So, we can figure it out. And we're going to go Monday through Sunday. It's the whole thing. We've got everything set. We're going to get that date. Here we go. May 3rd, 1996, the day before my 13th birthday.
All right.
So, little 12 and 0.9999 me is just ready to go.
150 miles south, 15-year-old me is waiting to just give you a good one. So it's like
based on how we've become friends, that I probably deserve it. We are recording this weeks ahead of time, so that now we can do our research. We can look into trivia facts. We can watch some shows. I will talk to you in 2 weeks. All right, we're back. We're in the present. And frankly, I think we look nice. I don't know what was going on this week's ago. We looked rough. I don't know what was happening there. Are you okay?
The time off has done us well. So
yes. So we are going to first look at May 3rd, 1996. And fun fact, that is the day before my 13th birthday. I was 12 years old. I was born on May 4th. So what could I tell you? I can tell you what I would have been watching now, which is a lot of what we'll do. I'll give a little preamble in that what I probably would have been watching then is a lot different. So, again, we're going to look at prime time, but I will hit a few things that I was looking at through the day. Did you look at any daytime TV options, or where'd your travels take you? Because I wound up watching more daytime TV that we won't be talking about than I care to.
I was less into the daytime stuff and more just deep diving a little bit into the stuff that was on at this time in prime time, just to see. So I could talk about the episode specifically, but then also about the shows.
Great. Well, let me tell you about the episode of The Price is Right that was on May 3rd, 1996, because the entire episode is on YouTube and I watched it. So with the date, the exact one that was on May 3rd, 1996, a nice old lady called Betty won the showcase in a Chrysler Sebring. She played hole in 1 or 2. She missed both shots. Bob had a when you have like the river shot where it like hits the circle of the cup and it like darts out, like it didn't go in. He was right there. It was right there. It circled and it shot out. It was so good for his customary practice putt.
Is that the one where he hits the sign and it goes to hole in 1
or
2?
Oh, Betty, you didn't make it to hole in 1, but maybe you'll make it to the hole or 2. And he hits it, it flips down. And they always act like it's a surprise, even though you always get it every time. Yes. So
love it.
Also, things that were coming on before prime time that I likely would have been watching more as a 12-year-old. 6 to 8 p.m. on Nickelodeon was hot shit. You had Clarissa Explains It All, Rugrats, Doug, and Tiny Toon Adventures leading up to Nick at Night. That's a 2-hour block. And I always remember that in my hometown of Holt, Michigan, 6:30 p.m. syndicated on Fox were Simpsons reruns, and that was big.
Mm.
My parents always watched the local news at 6, but I could lean on my dad and usually get him to switch from the nightly news to watch The Simpsons instead. Not always. If something big was going down, my dad would be like, we got to watch the news. But a lot of times I'd be like, Dad, Simpsons is on. He'd be like, all right. Then we'd go watch The Simpsons.
See, I think they must have known in my hometown of Canal Winchester, Ohio, suburb of Columbus, the Fox affiliate there figured out that they didn't want to compete with the 6 o'clock, so they would do it at 5 and 5:30 would have Simpsons repeats.
Nice.
So knowing that
Smart.
people didn't care as much about the 5 o'clock news, and so would turn over at 6 to that. So that was always the get out of here, the news is on. But we're almost to the credits. Hang on.
That's a pro move right there. Good work out of them.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the
what
preamble.
time was that? New Tiny Toons at that point, or was it just
no? That was
reruns from before?
That was reruns from before. The only new, if it was on Nickelodeon and new, it was their productions. Nickelodeon never aired new Tiny Toons. They were,
Tiny Toons went all over the place, so I didn't know if it was a
I believe
specific thing.
Technically, they started on Fox Kids. And then if they ever aired new after that, it would have been on, I think, WB, because Warner Brothers, much like Animaniacs, Freakazoid, they would have been at WB. So there we go. By the way, we have tried to figure out a Fox Kids schedule breakdown episode. It is the most difficult thing we haven't been able to do. We found a website that was like, I've been trying to track Fox Kids schedules for 10 years. And I just went to Randy. He's like, if this motherfucker hasn't figured it out over a decade, we're not putting the time in on this.
We may just have to do like our top 5 favorite Fox Kids cartoons and break them down or something.
That's a good call.
We have to get something in there, but we'll have to figure out a different format.
You're right, because it's like one of the last scheduled network things that we haven't touched that would have been from our youth.
Not for lack of effort, like you said.
My God. But that's all past. We are going to move into prime time, baby.
All right.
For May 3rd, 1996. Now, the way we're going to alter this, we're not just going to lay out the full schedule. We'll mention it, we'll talk about it, but we cannot get deep into every one of these fucking shows.
Right.
This would be a 6 to 7 hour episode, and that's too much. We are going to channel flip with you. We got the remote, and we're looking what's on at 8, what's on at 8:30, 9:30, and what would you watch? What would you skip? And what would you watch in the commercials of the thing you're watching? The thing you're watching with the commercial? All right, I'll sit on this for a minute. So with that, Randy, I will give you the honors. It's 8 o'clock. Family Matters on ABC, Due South on CBS, Sliders on Fox, and Unsolved Mysteries on NBC. There's also some cable options. If you have them, we can talk about them, but I'm only going to list right now the 4 broadcast networks. It's 8 o'clock. What are you watching?
So I'm probably going to Family Matters at this point, even though it was a repeat, but if I hadn't seen it, it was new to me. Oh, wait, that's an NBC thing. So I think I'm starting off on Family Matters, potentially switching to Unsolved Mysteries during the commercials.
So for a lot of these, it says what episode it was, and we did a lot of research. For this Family Matters, it just says repeat on some of the guides that we're using. So my question is, it's 8 o'clock. It's Family Matters. You know it's a repeat. You got your little TV guide out. It says repeat. You don't know what it's going to be. You're watching the TV guide channel, scrolling past, and you're like, I think I've seen that one.
I missed it. Now I got to wait 5 minutes.
Yep. Is there an episode of Family Matters that you're like, man, I hope it's this one because it's a repeat? Is there one that comes top of mind? You're like, I fucking love that episode of Family Matters.
If there was some stuff with Stefan, I would have been all in on it. So I think that might have been later, but
yeah, that was late era. But with a rerun, you could tell when Jaleel.
96 is later for them, right?
That's what I said. It was later era, right?
Yeah.
So you have a shot. So my thought was like, you can tell when Jaleel got older and got bored of Urkel because listen, he was always game. He always gave it his all. You can tell. This is me inferring. He probably went to the writers. He's like, I fucking get another machine. Get another goofy machine. I need another persona. I got to be somebody. Give me 2 episodes of someone else. I just got to figure. I got to do something, you motherfuckers.
So I will say, I did find this. This was the one that aired on February 9th. So
Okay.
I'm sorry, we're in May, right? Never mind.
Yeah.
I'm doing February from our other year, so forgive me.
You
So
motherfucker.
it does not say. Yeah, it doesn't tell you. I
All
went
right.
through their episodes by episode, so carry
What
on.
can I tell
Forgive me.
you? This segment started with a dud. This is thudded right down.
That being said, given the other options that I would have that would be on at the same time, I would still probably watch a rerun of Family Matters over the other ones.
Why did Unsolved Mysteries come in second? Because, oh, by the way, Unsolved Mysteries is also my channel change show because I think it works so well as a channel change show because you could be watching your thing, you watch your narrative, it goes to commercial, you flip around, you hear Robert Stack's narration, you see a creepy thing. You either get hooked in or you go, or it's three things. You either get hooked in, you're creeped out and change the channel, or you're bored and change the channel.
It's also usually a pretty. The stories are, I don't know, easier to dive into than trying to go into what Due South or Sliders is doing at that point, right? Like Sliders especially, like I
Oh,
wouldn't know what the
oh,
hell was going on if you go and turn the commercials. So
don't you worry, I'm getting there. For a show that tried to get episodic, this one famously fucked everything up for fans. Can't wait.
also, like I don't know how much research you did into this Due South episode. So Due South, for those of you not aware, was a Canadian Mountie that I don't actually know everything about the show, but was involved in helping to solve crimes, but he was the main character. And apparently somebody he had put in jail gets out of jail and starts to wreak havoc on everyone that the criminal thought was wrong. That's why it's called The Duel. But he builds these little trinkets that are trying to be clues into how he's going to destroy this person affiliated with the Mountie.
My favorite part about this show that I'm reading is that it was canceled after its first season. Did you see this?
I didn't see that.
Due South was canceled after its 24-episode first season. CBS canceled the series. But the show was so popular in Canada and the UK that it enabled the production company to raise money to mount a second 13-episode season, which ran from 95 to 96 and was again aired on CBS. And then it was again canceled. But it was this Due South Canadian Mountie show, they were like, we are fucking in. CBS, we will give you all the money. We will give you all the money. We're in.
And I'll be really honest with Due South, because, and this is going back to my sports fandom, because the NCAA basketball tournament was always on CBS, and then a lot of the playoff football and stuff like that for the NFL would be on CBS. I remember more about Due South from Pat Summerall trying to read coming up on Friday, a new Due South.
Oh,
will
God.
the Mountie get his man? Like these sports announcers that just have no clue what they're reading, but are trying to read the promos for these. And I knew more from that Due South and the graphic that goes over the bottom of the screen than I did actually watching the show.
Oh man, I'm knee deep into Due South wiki now, and I'm looking up the main character, and I found, I think, the quotes, the thing that you were talking about, as Fraser often explains, quote, I first came to Chicago on the trail of the killers of my father, and for reasons that don't need exploring at this juncture, I have remained attached as liaison with the Canadian consulate. So he's a Canadian Mountie in Chicago on the trail of the killers of his father, but he's not there because of that. He's stuck around. Why did this show get canceled? That's so easy to understand. According to Brenton Fraser, was conceived in an igloo, according to his father, and was born out in a field and grew up in Inuvik, Northwest Territories. After his mother was killed when he was still young, Benton was raised by his paternal grandparents who were traveling librarians. His mother, Caroline, was killed when he was an 8-year-old boy, and his father was murdered in the pilot episode of the show. At this point, he had been a Mountie for 13 years. This show is insane.
Good. I mean, I don't know. You need an encyclopedia to keep up with it, man. Like,
I couldn't respond.
So much backstory.
I couldn't fill in the gaps of what you were saying because I'm just sitting here on air reading the Wikipedia for the first time, enraptured by what's happened right now. Somebody really loved this show. This is a detailed fucking wiki. There are more important world events that have a 1-paragraph stub compared to what has been written for the lead character fucking Due South.
So in briefly reading the recap of that this hour's show, the episode specifically. So this criminal that gets out of jail and then starts to antagonize, try to sort of like tease the Mountie with all the trinkets and stuff like that. It's like 3 or 4 different ones, and they're jamming this all into so he has to go find and figure out and determine what the little puzzle means. And he's like, oh, this is in a boat, so he has to go to a dock or something like that. So it's like, this is a lot to jam into a half-hour show that's 40 minutes of TV.
In Britain, on ITV, in 2006, they did an hour-and-a-half documentary retrospective called Southbound, just remembering due south. This show was massive over there, and our pig dog American sensibilities brought us nothing. Nothing. You know why? Because I was busy watching fucking Sliders, and I couldn't be bothered to watch due south.
Please do tell. So
okay,
because I know this is supposed to be I didn't watch Sliders that much.
Okay,
very very infrequently, but this is a pretty notable one, right? This episode.
Yes. So Sliders, the first 2 seasons is great. The 3rd season also exists, and then the 4th, 5th, and 6th seasons we will not discuss. So the first
walk me through this show real quick.
Okay. Sorry. You know what? Hang on. I got a really fun idea. Randall, why do I need to lay it out when it can be laid out by Mr. Jerry O'Connell from the show? This is how the episodes, they would do a cold open, like a tease to be like, ooh, don't you want to see what world they're on now? And then this would happen.
What if you found a portal to a parallel universe? What if you could slide into 1,000 different worlds? Where it's the same year, and you're the same person, but everything else is different. And what if you can't find your way home?
Now it's just the music. And we're watching scenes of them running
very
through.
mid-90s music there.
Yep. All right, anyway. It's interesting because it was a show that had a lot of momentum in the first season and a lot of fan love, and it was always on the cusp of cancellation. It never was safe. And ratings, it moved around. It wound up on the Friday night spot, and that's never a good sign for a show.
Unless for the X-Files for some reason. That was the only one.
That's a fair point. And,
speaking, later on, we'll get to that in a second.
So it had an interesting cast, right? Because it had Jerry O'Connell, who'd been a child star. It had Sabrina Lloyd, who would leave this show to go do Sports Night with Aaron Sorkin. And it had Jonathan Rhys-Davies, who, Sala in Indiana Jones. He going to be Lord of the... He was the star, not the star of the show, but he was the name value. You knew him, you'd seen him. And the other guy, I feel bad, who played Rembrandt, which is so funny because of all the people I named, he's the one whose actor I can't remember. He's the only one that stayed through the entire run of the show, first season to last episode.
Oh boy.
And he was the only one, and it was bad. So I'll get into this, but the last history I'll give you is it did 2 pretty good seasons on Fox, a 3rd season on Fox that the network got involved with and fucked with real bad. It got canceled. It moved to Sci-Fi. And let me tell you, a Sci-Fi original series in 1999, 2000, that's not very good. And they did 3 more years there that aren't even worth discussing. But the show was created. You know the singer Mel Torme? You know Night Court, Harry's Mel Torme obsession? This show was created by Mel Torme's son. The Sliders was created, developed by Mel Torme's son. And he's been really online, and it's amazing how open he's been with fans to talk about stuff. But the catch with this episode, the reason it became so controversial with fans is the network interference kind of started after this. The problem is he had put in a huge Easter egg red herring of a further storyline where Jonathan Rhys-Davies' character, they whatever happens, they think they land on Earth and they think it's their Earth. It turns out not to be their Earth. And it turns out that his parallel is still there. And at the end of the episode, you don't know which one, I keep wanting to say leapt away like it's Quantum Leap. You don't know which one slid away. So the hook is you don't know if they took yours or the copy, and it never gets addressed again because of all the creative shakeups. So they lean in on the cliffhanger to be likely that they took the wrong one. but it's literally never brought up again. And Jonathan Rhys-Davies gets so frustrated with the show that he's killed off in the 5th episode of the 3rd season and leaves the show. So it's this controversial fan thing of we had this amazing show that was really entertaining and creative, and we really loved what they were doing with it, but the ratings weren't good, and so the network just poked and tried to change and poked, and it got worse and worse. And now you're left with all these little moments that could have been that aren't, and it's a bummer. But in this era, before you knew that, I would have watched this. I would have loved this. I would have enjoyed this. Sliders was fun. It was kitschy. And at its best, it was so original. And I hope I did that succinctly enough. You didn't have to hit the buzzer on me to get me to stop ranting about that.
I don't know. I didn't glaze over. That was well done.
Okay, good. It's mainly just fascinating looking at how badly they fucked up what could have been a good thing. Also, fun fact, who murdered his character in the 3rd season is Roger Daltrey from The Who. He was randomly acting as the bad guy. And because they could only get Roger Daltrey for 2 episodes, but he was going to be the bad guy the whole season, he got plastic surgery. And so he never looked like Robert Daltrey again. And they'd bring back like different actors. They'd be like, it's him.
It's a good trick.
They found him. He's changed his face again.
Remember, he doesn't look the same anymore. Oh, got it.
Yeah, exactly. They'd still call him like the General because it was like his character, but he never looked the same again. But I enjoyed the hell out of it. But Unsolved Mysteries, if I'd caught the opening theme of Unsolved Mysteries, it probably would have kept me longer because that theme was often better than the show. How good was the theme of Unsolved fucking Mysteries? It was so good. We're gonna do it right
to
now.
have that, and then to have Robert Stack come in with that voice. It's just it's a good hook off the top.
I mean, how could you not love him after his performance in Caddyshack 2? It's amazing that he was able to get this after that superstar performance. How did they secure him? His career had never been higher, Randy.
I was saying that I know him more from Beavis and Butthead Do America, which you rightly pointed out is this same year.
Yeah, it's a really big year for him. I think a couple of months later that came out.
Yeah.
So we move on to 8:30, and the question is, the interesting thing about this is if you had really dialed in on Due South, Sliders, or Unsolved Mysteries, those are all hour-long programs. That's taking you 8 to 9. So I'm dialed in on Sliders. I'm channel flipping on Unsolved Mysteries. Family Matters ends. And this is interesting for you, because what are you going to do at 8:30? Because you've told me several times you are not a Boy Meets World fan, and after Family Matters is a brand new episode of Boy Meets World. And I remember this one, but what do you do at 8:30? Do you go to cable? What are you finding?
No, I'd probably go to Unsolved Mysteries, because this wouldn't surprise me that the way that those, especially Unsolved Mysteries, was usually formatted is that it was almost sort of like they were anticipating this happening.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be a re-tease specifically at 8:30. But you definitely would rehash a little bit.
Yes.
To kind of bring anybody that you knew was joining at that point would get into it. So that's probably what I would do. I would just switch over to that and then hang there for the next half hour.
You're right. All those shows, your Unsolved Mysteries, your Rescue 911s, they would make that mid-hour break. You're going to get two stories.
Or be a different mystery or something.
Well, that's what I mean. You get that 2 stories often in that hour to make that happen. But it's okay, because if you'd left ABC, I bet you're coming back at 9 o'clock, if not for the episode, but for the opening theme song of Step by Step. Because the episode is not great, but we can get into that. But also, Diagnosis Murder is on CBS, a new episode of The X-Files on Fox, which is so crazy that ever got the ratings it did. Sliders dies a death at 8, but 9 o'clock on Friday, they're like, no, I'm in. Or you can go over to NBC and watch a little Dateline NBC, but in the pre-Catch a Predator era, they're much more hard news than gotcha moments at this era of Dateline. So what do you watch?
Did you see the title of the episode for Dateline NBC?
I was trying so hard to find the segment. There's 2
I tried to
pieces.
Google it, nothing helps.
There's 2 pieces, Do No Harm, and Catitude. And can I tell you the amount of time I spent Googling Dateline Catitude? I was trying so hard to find this segment. And I found the Peacock has Dateline archives. They're like, we have 16 seasons of Dateline. The problem is the show's been on so long, the 16 seasons doesn't even hit this point. It's in 1998. I was like, fuck, I just want to see what this is. But what are you watching at 9?
All that being said, I'm watching the X-Files. Well, I did say I like my jokey and fun ABC. I was all in on the X-Files at this point in my life, and this was it. It superseded most everything, and this is a pretty good, fun Monster of the Week episode. So too, so it's nice, really good back and forth too with Mulder and Scully towards the end of it. There's one scene where it's just the two of them kind of talking in scenery for a lengthy period of time. Just it's fun to investigate the two of them. But I'm probably watching X-Files, maybe flipping to Step by Step during the commercials.
Okay, so I was not watching X. I mean, my parents watched it. I didn't always get super into X-Files. I watched
Sure,
here
a
and
little
there.
younger, yeah.
I enjoyed it when I saw it sometimes, but what season was this?
This is the third season, so
Oh, so they're a
towards the-
smash. They're a smash hit at this point in the third
this
season.
is why,
This is a
yeah,
big deal.
this,
Yeah.
yeah, this got, I think, what did it say, a 10 or an 11 rating, which is, I
woof.
mean, pretty, yeah,
On a Friday. Yeah.
at 9, yeah.
Wow.
And so this episode was called Quagmire, and it took place in rural Georgia, and there is this local legend that they called Big Blue. It's essentially sort of a take on think of a southern U.S. version of the Loch Ness Monster. That's kind of the idea. And Mulder completely believed in it. Scully didn't. Shocker. That was the entire dynamic of the show. But
you don't say.
so they're going down to investigate it, and it's just kind of the back and forth of what they discover, and is this Big Blue really what it is? I'm going to spoil it. Sorry, it's 30 years old. You should be able to go find it. What happened was, it's because Scully had a dog at this point named Queequeg, and so
was that a recurring character, the dog?
I think it showed up early in the third season, and it was only in for a couple episodes, and then it does not survive this episode.
Oh, Queequeg.
So they find out at the end of the episode that it was an alligator that ate the dog. So they just kind of say, oh, all this must have been, they end up destroying the alligator, but they're like, oh, okay. They realize, oh, this must have been the alligator. The very, very end of the episode, you go back and you see in the distance in the lake, actual Big Blue, the Loch Nessy monster thing, slurping away. So like Big Blue was a real thing.
Huh.
They just don't address it. So Fox was right, and even though there is a rational scientific explanation that would have worked to explain Big Blue, but Big Blue also was there in addition to the alligator. That was the whole thing of it. But it's
fun
little, just self-contained episode.
You were right. The dog was in 2 episodes before it met its end. But Scully never forgot, because in season 9, episode 6, that aired in 2002, you can see her email address as queequeg0925@hotmail.com. So she never forgot her dog all those years later. It really stuck with her. That's so sad.
I did something that, and Jillian, right?
Yeah,
Or,
Gillian?
Yeah, I don't know.
Miss Anderson.
She did an AMA in 2013 on Reddit, and someone asked her if she was sorry to see Queequeg go, and now she's known for having a pretty dry sense of humor and a bunch of other stuff that she's done as well, the actress. And she said, that dog killed people with its farts, and it deserved to die a nasty death in the mouth of that alligator or whatever it was.
Queequeg.
Oh, I had to shampoo it or walk away every few seconds because the puffs of nastiness kept happening. Now, who knows if she's telling the truth, like if that's for real, but that's a highly amusing thing in the sense of the poor dog. But
I have one more. I have another addendum. I'm finding more hot Queequeg trivia. In the revival years, there were 2 more references. In 2016, Queequeg is mentioned by name. Scully sees a dog at the local animal shelter, and she mentions it reminds her of Queequeg. And in 2018, Scully's password to deactivate her home security system is revealed to be Queequeg, which is interesting, but wow, that's a lot to type to deactivate a system. Like, it is spelled Queequeg. I do not. Give me a 3-digit code. 0111. Turn it off. Oh, God, it's going to go off. They're going to call somebody.
I don't. Do they reference her liking Melville or anything like that? Because Queequeg's from Moby Dick, right?
Oh, that's why I was remembering Queequeg, because of the
Yeah.
references to Moby. I was like, why do I remember this dog's name on this episode? I don't remember so much. Because is it The Simpsons or is it Futurama? Actually, wait, what the hell's your username today? REP Queequeg. No, it's for the dog.
Yeah.
There's hang on. This is
I mean, my thing of Queequeg I always think about is if in the movie Major League, the Jake, Tom Berenger's character, the way he wins over, what's the woman's name? I'm blanking completely. He remembers that Queequeg is one of the characters because he read the book. He told her he would read and he read, so he remembered that it was Queequeg's coffin that saves.
this. I've never read Moby Dick.
Okay.
This is why I knew Queequeg. Because in the episode of Futurama where they're being attacked by the brains that are draining people's intelligence that can only be defeated by intelligence, like coming back at them, Moby Dick is one of the books Fry reads. And there's a line where dumb, Leela's had her brain taken. She has no intelligence. She just looks at him and goes, "Is there Mrs. Queequeg?" And like starts twirling her hair. And that's what was triggered in my brain this entire time, because I'm a smart, intelligent young man. Queequeg. God, I love Futurama. I will tell you, I'd watch Futurama over all these shows that we've talked about so far. That's the problem. Now, here's the thing. I would not have watched Diagnosis, but you told me you watched this episode. And I don't think either one of us planned on talking about it, but I want to honor your sacrifice by asking about this Diagnosis Murder episode, Left-Handed Murder, that aired May 3rd, 1996.
I didn't watch the episode. I just read some of the recap of it.
Oh,
and
okay.
The main the main idea. So I mean, Diagnosis Murder is kind of, Dick Van Dyke as a doctor who, it's kind of Murder, She Wrote.
I was going to say, it's Matlock, it's Murder, She Wrote.
Yeah.
He's a doctor and he solves murders. If Jessica Fletcher was an author, and I don't know, I was almost said Andy Griffith, Matlock was a lawyer, then Dick Van Dyke, or whatever his name is on Diagnosis Murder, is a doctor. It's all the same
Dr.
format.
Mark Sloan, yes.
There you
go. Interestingly enough, or maybe not, but this is a spinoff. This character was introduced in an episode of Jake and the Fat Man, and they
really?
they spun it off into its own thing. Yeah, incredible.
Wow. I did not see that coming.
That Diagnosis Murder episode outrated the Step by Step Hang with Mr. Cooper block.
I mean, I'm not shocked. CBS and their old people really held on at that point.
Also,
that show was like 8 years. Didn't they do a reboot of Diagnosis Murder? Yes, because Jason Ritter's in it, because his TikTok, he has a surprising amount of TikTok followers, Jason Ritter, son of John Ritter. And it's like, he'll do goofy dances and bad jokes, but the whole time he'll have like a sign. He won't say it. He'll just do his dumb thing, but he'll have a sign be like, "Watch Diagnosis Murder here," with like the time. And it's like, and he'll be like dancing to the weird theme song. And the kids, the Gen Z kids, weirdly were like, "Well, this guy's pretty funny. We don't want to watch that show, but that's pretty funny." So
the thing about Diagnosis Murder has a bunch of interesting side things that in the show's narrative.
Oh no, sorry. He was on Diagnosis Murder.
He was? Okay.
Yes, he's in the reboot of Matlock, is what I was thinking of.
That's
what it is. My bad. With Kathy Bates as New Matlock.
Correct.
Anyway,
yes.
Sorry, you were saying.
Also on CBS.
They've just gone back to what worked for them, didn't it? They're like, we can always go back to old people. Always.
So in Diagnosis Murder, the narrative structure of it, so he's the doctor, I don't know if he's a surgeon, anyway, but his son is a detective, and that's the tie-in to being helped to find solving the cases. There is a police liaison there, like his son in the show and also in real life, which is kind of cool.
Quick time out. I was so wrong. I was Googling stuff. Charlie Slattery, who was in, we know that name. Why do we know the name?
18 again, yeah.
Yes, oh God, that fucking movie. Possibly my favorite episode we've ever done, the body swap breakdown. Go to the audio archives and find that movie. That's fucking terrible. I was getting him confused with a Google search result. Jason Ritter was like a kid in the original Diagnosis Murder. I've got my wires all
Okay.
crossed. Please continue.
Gotcha.
God, I can't believe we had to bring up 18 again to get that straightened out. I'm angry at
It
myself.
was going to be one of my notes, so we were going to do it regardless. So
Okay,
we got
fine.
there.
Please continue.
We got there moderately organically. So
Yeah. Sorry, you did so
you
much
would-
research for a show you didn't watch.
I did, yeah. Well, just because it's one of those things you start to look into it and you're like, I wonder what this person was in. And then you look at it and you go, oh my God, this person's in this person's in this.
I'll tell you right now, I can't really judge you too harshly because I want to go back and we're going to talk about the ABC shows at 9. We already joked about Dateline. The show that comes on at 10, which I don't know if how much we were talking past 10 for prime time. I did watch the episode of Nash Bridges, or I should say I tried to watch the episode of Nash Bridges that was on after Diagnosis Murder for this. And I got so bored so fast. Like, I don't know how that show lasts as long. I got so bored. And it was no Cheech Marin in that one. And maybe that would have done something for me. But this CBS block of 8 to 11 with these hour-long procedurals that I feel like got less inspired as the night went on. Due South was pretty original. Diagnosis Murder was not, but had Dick Van Dyke and kind of a neat conceit. Then you get to Nash Bridges' verse, just Don Johnson as a cop again. And I'm just like, I'm out. But what is up with just their Friday night procedural block? It's crazy. But we'll dial it back to ABC. Sorry, you have a thought? What do you got?
No, I was just saying they were trying to get, maybe it's just as they get closer and closer to the 11 o'clock news, they're just trying to put nice thoughts in there. So it's like, all right, let's send Nash to Hawaii. It'll look nice. It'll be
And to be fair, I guess if you keep the old people through that whole block, they stay for the news, and the old people wanted to watch the news at this time.
Yep.
So, but we go back to ABC for the 9 to 10 hour. 9 o'clock, we got Step by Step. And we both watched this one. And I probably would have watched this one of the available options. I do have a follow-up before we move on to other things. What was on a few cable stations is probably what I would have watched.
Okay.
But this episode of Step by Step is not very good. It's not one of their better ones.
No, I agree.
And it falls in that weird end of season 5 period. In the 4 episodes where Cody, the actor, Sasha Mitchell, Cody, had been fired, and they brought in a replacement character, Flash, who did not come back for season 6. And can I tell you,
deservedly,
he's Temu brand, store brand George McFly. He is annoying. He is dumb. I don't get the comedic appeal, but the fact they didn't make it past 4 episodes, he didn't have comedic appeal. He was not funny.
Yeah.
He was not good. But the plot of this one is a trope that a lot of shows of this era hit. We're going to Disney World, part 1. Then June Lockhart shows up as Frank the dad. Frank that shows up. It says mom. Great little guest spot there. Love seeing June Lockhart, TV golden age of TV actors coming in for a little work. And they all go on a big family vacation, and hilarity ensues. JT pretends to be one of the heirs to the Disney fortune and hits on women. The annoying Flash character tries to break some record about going on all the rides in a certain amount of time. The parents do parent stuff. It was middling at best.
Agreed. Yeah, with the main thing that whoever JT's best friend goes with him, right? But they were gonna get an apartment, because I guess they'd saved up money for an apartment, but then JT spends all that money because they're trying to impress these girls or
who
something.
It turns out don't even care, because isn't that the way? And then Hanging with Mr. Cooper at 9:30. I remember a lot of Hanging with Mr. Cooper. I remember the theme. I'm sure I've seen this, but I cannot tell you much about Hanging with Mr. Cooper. I vaguely remember it. I remember the show being very popular. I remember liking what I saw. Man, I don't remember anything about this.
Yeah, this was an episode, I guess, as it went later in this show, they did a lot of will they, won't they with Mark Curry's character and Holly Robinson Pete. Yeah, so, and this was another line of that.
Okay. All right. So the reason, I just want to know, we forced what we would have said on, your classic network TV. I, however, would have probably actually been watching Nick at Night or Cartoon Network at this time. And I'm going to run down what was on those 2-hour blocks for you, and you tell me what you think. So, do you remember the Moxie show on Cartoon Network? I kind of hated it. It was how they framed the sort of
No.
the block of time. They had one of the like really, really old school, blocky looking computer animated characters. And it was the conceit of like, it was a cartoon host for Cartoon Network as he would introduce shows and he had his little bits. But
Okay.
this was before they had a lot of their own original stuff. The What a Cartoon Show would be their late night pre-Adult Swim. And that's where you got a lot of your Dexter, your Cow and Chicken. And that was because it was original and later. This was still a 2-hour block where they had Bugs and Daffy and the Flintstones and the Jetsons. And weirdly, do you remember the show Capital Critters? They were playing a rerun of Capital
Sure.
Critters, which
Yeah.
was all the they
Simpsons showrunners, right? That went and did it.
did
Was that them?
they? I didn't think so. No, I thought this was
Oh.
the guy who did NYPD Blue. Also, no, that was.
Oh, was it? Oh, okay.
That was the guy who did Cop Rock. Remember we've talked about. I don't know if this was
Stephen
on air
Bochco?
or I don't even remember if this was on air because I've talked about Cop Rock too much. In the period between he did Hill Street Blues and LA Law, he tried before NYPD Blue. He did the musical action show Cop Rock, and then he did Capital Critters. He really tried to branch out, and both failed terribly. But they were playing reruns of Capital Critters on this. And then on Nick at Night, it was it was when Nick at Night was really Nick at Night. They were doing The Munsters, I Dream of Jeannie, I Love Lucy, and Bewitched. I probably would have watched Bewitched at 9:30. That's really why I leaned into this. My mom loved Bewitched. I loved Bewitched. And my mom adored Bewitched. So there's a real good chance that if 9:30 we didn't have something else, we were watching Bewitched on Nick. So that one is what logically I most likely would have been watching, which is kind of why I wanted to hit it. But man, what a classic lineup for Nick at Night. Before Nick at Night, really, I realized they're still playing retro shows, but now they're the retro shows that make me feel old because they were on when I was alive. These were the retro shows that were, still decades before I was born. Let's get it. This is fascinating. My least favorite of these, could be sacrilege, is I Love Lucy. I would take Munsters, I Dream of Jeannie, and Bewitched over I Love Lucy in a second. And it's also really the only one of this lineup that doesn't match the formula of bizarre, monster, magical shit going on. Did you like any of those shows, or am I just barking up the wrong tree?
No, I did. It's just I lived primarily with my mom, my stepdad growing up, and would visit my dad and stepmom from time to time. Like and my dad and stepmom had cable, so I would watch sometimes when I was there with them. But my mom and stepdad were adamantly against having cable, so I just never had it until I went to college. So unless I was over at like a friend's house or something like that, so I just didn't watch. If it wasn't on network TV, I generally wasn't watching it that much.
Fair enough. I was pre-1997. There was like the evolution of cable, right? You had basic cable, which got you your Nickelodeons or stuff like that. And I would have that. Then in 97, I remember it so clearly in 97, we got our first digital cable box with just like all the shit. And it was the first time I'd ever had HBO. And it was just like, what is this? There's everything I've ever wanted. And I never went outside ever again. Ever. So the last thing, go ahead.
No, I was going to say it brought up a memory of like the only thing a friend of mine who lived down the street had cable, and I remember that was the one thing is like I think South Park was on Wednesdays, right? So once we got into that time frame, it was like I would just walk down to her house and we watched South Park like at whenever it was on 10 o'clock on Wednesdays, and that was my one like cable fix for the week. Usually is that hanging out with my friends to watch the South Park.
Hello, it's Mike again while recording this episode, and I can't believe I'm popping back in again. I did not think that I was going to, but as we're about to transition into the final part of this, there's 10 minutes left in the episode. I didn't name a watch for 9 o'clock or what I'd watch in commercials for 9 or 9:30. Randy didn't say what he'd skip at 9 or 9:30. He didn't say what his commercial watches were going to be. We didn't say what his commercial watch would be at 8:30 when he went to Unsolved Mysteries. I've really enjoyed this episode, but if you're watching on YouTube and seeing the grid, or if you're listening very intently, no, you didn't miss anything. We'll try to be better.
I do want to say I want to give a shout out to Homicide: Life on the Street, which aired at 10 on NBC too.
Oh,
which
yeah,
was,
right. That was a pretty
an
big
awesome
deal.
show, and I don't know how much you got into it. So I had a really good friend of mine in high school who swore by it, and he was like, "No one's watching this, and it's so good." And he finally got me into it, like
Is that the
as it was finishing
show-
up. So
That's the show that Richard Belzer was on as Munch before he was on
Mhm.
Law and Order, and that's the
Yes.
show that also had another crossover.
Andre, oh
No, you've
yeah, Andre
heard.
Brower's big thing, but yeah.
I can't remember if I've talked about it on air or if I just talked about it to you personally. You have heard of the Saint Elsewhere theory, right? About that kind of Munch's fault.
No,
Oh
what's
my
that?
God. Okay, we're about to go on a journey, my friend.
Deep. Oh boy.
I need to bring up my notes. I want to make sure I'm reading this properly. All right. I want to bring up the list of shows. Okay, here we go. I got everything right here. Come with me on a journey into the brain of a young child named Tommy Westphall, who was a minor character on the TV show Saint Elsewhere that aired on NBC from 1982 to 1988. His character was autistic, or more accurately, what the late 80s considered autistic, which is a certain kind of special.
Okay.
The finale of Saint Elsewhere is very important in that the absolute last scene, as it turns out, the entire show was a dream of him looking in the ball, and it was all a dream of this autistic child.
Yeah.
Here's the catch. Saint Elsewhere had so many guest spots from other people that branched into other shows that I believe at one point, up until the early 2000s, you could trace back that technically like 80% of television for a 30-year period was in the brain of Tommy Westphall. That the way that it all timed out. Let me look up. I've got a few things. So obviously, Saint Elsewhere is the original thing. On Saint Elsewhere, on the show, they had crossovers with characters from the Bob Newhart Show, MASH, The White Shadow, and Cheers.
Yep.
Branching out from that, show characters from the show Saint Elsewhere that guest starred on other shows. Homicide: Life on the Street. There's the big one. Chicago Hope. Oz has the same management company that's running St. Elsewhere, runs the hospital in Oz. Boston Public receives her pension. The character receives pension from the hospital. Then if you go elsewhere, and so the way I'm going to read this directly from something, so I don't get it right. If we look at the logic setup, that any show with a connection to St. Elsewhere must be also a part of Tommy's creation, that same line of thought can be expanded on that St. Elsewhere is a dream. That's show A. If show B is connected to A, it is part of a dream. Therefore, if show C is connected to show B, it is also part of a dream that can go on forever. So let's look at, this is how they lay out that the show Firefly is still in there, even though it shouldn't matter. St. Elsewhere doctors visited Cheers. Cheers was spun off into Frasier. Frasier, Frasier's title character called into the John Larroquette show and was a radio guest on that show's radio show. The John Larroquette show referenced a client of Yo-Yo Dine, which was from the show Angel, another which was a client of the Wolfram and Hart Company. Another Wolfram and Hart Company is Weyland-Yutani, which is the company from Aliens, which is then referenced in Firefly. So everything connects to being in Tommy Westphall's head.
Image you absolutely have to edit in here is Charlie from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. String.
There's one more good one that they did on this website. Again, I did not do this research, but this is the theory. And the reason why Munch is the important part of this is famously Richard Belzer as Munch has guest starred on a million different fucking shows as Munch. So the fact that Homicide: Life on the Street with Munch is in this list just explodes fucking everything. Everything, probably including us, is in Tommy Westphall's brain. Very exciting. I can't believe you hadn't heard that theory before. It's classic old school internet. It's you were probably outside playing some. I don't know what you think. So good on you. I was believed going to hit what was on late night. I don't remember how we got there.
Yes.
How did we even get there?
I briefly mentioned Homicide was on at 10 o'clock on NBC and worth watching. So.
Okay, great. I had Leno written down at one point. I lost him. Fuck Leno. I never liked Leno. Letterman had Rosie O'Donnell at the height of her daytime talk show, so that was a big get.
Sure.
To the point where she was the first guest over Gwyneth Paltrow in 96. Conan had Pete Townsend, Nick Turturro from NYPD Blue, and the band Dishwalla, and you told me Ice-T was on Tom Snyder, so that's lovely.
Dishwalla.
So Conan, 90s Conan, man, 96 Conan was good shit. But that is, do you have any other final thoughts on 96? We were younger, it was a different era, and to be honest, as a random crapshoot, not a great night of TV in my mind. I don't want to watch a lot of this. My hope is maybe I find some other plans.
Yeah, I was thinking about that so I would have been at that point a freshman in high school that day.
You might have been able to have plans. I would not have been able to have plans.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I was thinking about that. If it was May, I was on the track team in high school. That was like track season, and we had some of our meets on Friday night, so it's possible I might have even been there. I might have been out at a track meet, or like you said, just out with plans. And I guarantee
Cool
I
guy
taped
Randy.
X-Files though, because I always did.
Important question. Did you know how to program a VCR to time, or did you do, my family and I were not thinking about how hilarious it is in my tech field now that I work in. The biggest thing we would do is be like, what show do you want to watch? Yeah? Do you have that tape set to like 4 hours? Hit record and we'd leave. So we would just record like 8 to 11, and then we'd fast forward to find the thing that we wanted to watch.
No, the main reason I knew how to program it was because in my town, the local affiliate on Friday nights at like midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning would run back old Mystery Science Theater 3000 episodes. And so I always wanted to have that to watch those back. And so that was how I figured out how to program the VCR to tape when it was supposed to tape.
I can't remember if I've told this story or not, but if I have, you're all going to hear it again. One of the last VHS tapes with a taped program in use in my life was just put out of commission maybe 2 years ago, because in the guest bedroom at my parents' house, they had a TV with a built-in VCR, but the tape was stuck in there. The tape would play, but you could not get the tape out.
You could only watch
So you could only watch regular TV or what was on that VHS tape. And that VHS tape was the finale to Frasier in like 2011 or something? So you could watch the 1 hour retrospective of Frasier, the hour finale, and like the first 10 minutes of like whatever was on at 10 o'clock. And I would go to stay at my dad's, and for several years, I would go stay in the guest room and watch the finale of Frasier as like a routine or tradition. So it was lovely. When they brought the show, I was disappointed that he didn't have Charlotte with him, because he went to Chicago to meet up with Charlotte. You may not remember the finale, but I do, because I've seen it about 15 times. So
the weird part is we had growing up the finale of Family Ties and the finale of Cheers on VHS.
Those are not on the same night. Was that on the same tape? Did they save the tape?
No, different tapes. God, they're long gone. But but that was one of those things where it's like, it was just, it's a tape we had, so I would turn it back. I got a third of the jokes in that Family Ties episode, but like it's but yeah, I know most of the plot for both of those just because of the same thing. I watched it a million times. I'm truly kidding.
100%. All right, we're back in the present now. Randy has been
time travel is more difficult than I anticipated.
I'm fucking exhausted. I'll tell you right now. You know what? I'll wait till we're later in the season. There's something I didn't talk about. The new season of Doctor Who's out. I know you don't care, but it's been really good. We'll talk about it next week when I've watched more TV. But usual social media plugs. We probably could have kept this all from the thing we just aired, but let's get modern. Let's get now.
We had to come back to the future.
There you go. Mike Barcode on Instagram, TikTok. There's the Way to These Guys Friends Instagram that I haven't touched in 3 months, but it's there. Don't worry about it. And if you got anything, please leave a comment, 5-star review, like and subscribe, literally all the stuff. It's been too long since we've done anything. When I say we need your algorithm love, we need your algorithm love. We were barely hanging on. Now we're nothing. Now we got to get it back at it. I need I want you to want me
Mm-hmm.
and Randy. I want you to want us. That sounds creepy.
Such a cheap trick. Oof.
Oh, and with that, you want to wrap this up and get us out of here?
Yeah, before any more puns, goodbye, everybody.